Good morning, everyone. Hope it was a good night last night party, but thank you for coming this early. Uh, as our moderator said, this presentation will be a little bit non-technical and more about experiences from the business side of point of view. So, a little bit about myself. I studied in Belgrade, like in 90s, mathematics, statistics. Today it's called AI. So back from then I was into involved into several companies. One of them is BC Group in Belgrade. It was e-commerce, and most business apps was done there. Like always, you use relational databases, and from business point of view, this technology would be great to have some data that is not changed ever, so you can justify that some things are finished up in a amount of time and certain time, so you have a proof of that you deliver something to the customer or deliver everything to the government what's needed. So that would be the usage of this technology back then, but of course then it was all paper. Today, hopefully, this technology and everything that's coming up will be used in business and also governments. But we will see about that. Okay, so also not only business app, but I was working in gaming technologies like last 7 years. It was mostly mobile. Last 3 years, we are trying to involve some usability of blockchain technology, not just for payments inside games, but also for trading, for tournaments, for ability for user to own their player inside the game, their character. And yeah, it was a lot of problems there between, let's call them normal Web2 developers and blockchain developers. Guys, we are not talking the same language. I mean, language is English, but it's same terms means different to those two parties. One small example, like game for a blockchain developer is one record that's written about the information about the game. Game ID for game developer is the number of the game which was played. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or whichever game was in the system. And after you understand that they are thinking differently about the same terms, then you understand why the everyday meetings are so important. So keep your guys on track and try always to bring your team up to speed and tell them everything that's happening in the system. Otherwise, you will came up to the very close end, connecting those two platforms and ending up with misunderstandings. Okay, so let's start with the gaming a little bit. In gaming industry, the most challenge lately is how to not be classified as gambling. I mean, some of the developers like to be into gambling. Money is there, of course, but regarding the old regulations, SEC and everything that's coming up, seems that being classified as gambling would be the worst thing that you can do. As you will need to do everything what every government regulatory requires of you. So you will need to comply to all the user KYCs for any kind of involvement of money into those systems. And you're losing anonymity, which is kind of good for gaming. And I mean, most of us are coming to these projects with only our nicknames, and some people doesn't like to be on screen, on taking pictures or whatever, to be involved in or close to these technologies. Maybe because they think that is still kind of semi-legal thing, but in our country and surroundings, blockchain is becoming like a real legitimate business and should be involved wherever it's supposed to be used. Okay, so this supposed to be used is one thing that I basically want to talk today. And blockchain developers are trying to use blockchain like only blockchain, nothing else. If you developing an app, you are just thinking that everything has to be on blockchain. Everything, like all the data, all the logic. You want everything to be decentralized, which it's nice, but it's same thing as somebody would like into e-commerce to use only MySQL database and nothing else. And then you came to a problem that you cannot have any conversation inside, you cannot have graph databases for social networks, everything becoming slow, and using only one technology is at the end becoming a problem. So, in gaming, we strongly try to utilize blockchain whenever it's needed and whenever it's good. For example, NFTs. It was a huge deal a few months ago, which is long term in our business. But now NFTs are coming a little bit, well, not so much used as previously. From my opinion, it's great for gaming. I mean, you can own your own character, you can own your own sword, you can own things inside the game, you can sell them, resell them, you can build them. Now NFTs can be used and be owned by many people, not just one person. NFTs can be joined, making the better sword, the better vehicle, the better things inside games, and that's something what, in my opinion, should really be used in gaming, but not in capacity that it was previously, like let's make 10,000 different whatever. Why? Because, well, people will like to have one specific one. Yeah, you build specific one, you play for it, you build it, you invest into it, and then it has worth. Giving worth to NFTs just for no reason or because some influencer really wanted to have his collection and he never drew anything in his life is a little bit stupid, but okay, well, that's how the world was accepting it, and a lot of money gone through those NFTs, and now it's almost burned. Okay, but ownership itself in gaming, it's good for items, for things on market, for things that you can trade off game, not inside during the gameplay. During the gameplay, it really could be a problem. So let's say that you have really nice characters and you build everything to them, a nice shield, nice sword. You are competing to fellow developer who is not so artistic and he has better sword, but it's not looking good as yours, and you don't know what you are competing to. So in games, gamers are used to that bigger sword is more mighty one, and not the one that is looking better. That's one of the things that are coming a little bit different when you create action games and comparing to the turn-based games that are most likely used via these technologies. So, action games. Action games versus blockchain games. I mean, from blockchain point of view, from Web3 developers' point of view, everything needs to be secured, confirmed. Everything needs to be, before it's on chain, verified by N plus people or nodes. And that is really not acceptable in gaming. As in gaming, everybody used to AAA games, to playing fast, to be able to interact with your opponent, and that's in blockchain gaming is really not possible. And it shouldn't be. I mean, let's use technologies where it's okay. Let's use technologies for markets, for trading items. Let's use technology for tournaments to be able to verify who won against who, not during the gameplay. Otherwise, you will get this. In the middle of your game, somebody will buy your sword. So then you get to the point where if you make everything in game ownable with somebody and tradable without his knowledge, you get the point where your opponent can buy your item during the gameplay, and that's something that happened in few games, which was requested to always be everything will be on chain and that everything will be controlled by the user. And as you know, once you do it and release it, it's very hard to do any modifications on it, and then you depend on the contract and logic that you initially implemented into your code, and that game is done. Okay, so yeah, this is the last slide, but I have a little bit before that. So from a business point of view, blockchain is a database. I mean, the first day was that if it's database, then it's shit, right? But it's not. I mean, you really can use blockchain only to store the data that you need, only to be able to rely on that data and to have everything public from your application. To get back to the business part of you, our project that was involved with some governments for storing the data, the bookkeeping data from companies in the country. It's now regulation across all Europe. It will come to us here soon. So all the companies basically need to store all their public data to be accessible by anyone online. And blockchain is great for that. Once you put it there, it stays. Of course, you will not put the whole document. You will put the hash to the IPFS document where you can find. And in those cases, yes, the blockchain became just a database to store the data inside, but that's something that business at that point requires. You don't always have to have all the triggers, all the logic of setting the data and splitting inside. It's really more than enough to use technology as it's supposed to be or where it's applicable in your applications. So yeah, that was mostly it. So I would like some questions, as if you have any problems with regulations in your app, or you have doubts about where to use or not to use blockchain as a first source of data. Okay. Nope. Okay, thank you.
Hi, thanks for the talk. So, as a typical gamer, where would I, for example, I mean, I don't play that much, but maybe a little bit. So, like, for a typical gamer, where could he feel the need for blockchain to be part of the games he's using, online games today, for example, when nobody's using? Well, I mean, very few people are using that.
Okay, so great thing would be if somebody finally create global high score list where you can prove your games, where you can prove your progress, where can you prove your advance in a games or playing against somebody else. Or
so
becoming...
Is it because you're afraid that the game authors would be somehow selling that progress without anybody seeing to other players, or why?
No, but how can you trust the game tournament scores if it's not written somewhere where it cannot be changed?
Okay, but then you mean like real-time progress, or
No,
or
let's,
just
let's
trading
take
items
tournament
long-term?
inside any game or system of the games. And when you finish your play, the score, your score and your gameplay, your keystrokes, your points in the game where you achieved something could be stored in a blockchain. And then you have a proof that you really created that score, and in tournament nobody can cheat on you, even the developers.
Right, right. No, but okay, sorry if I'm taking too much time. But I guess my question is, it seems like all the parties are already interested in keeping that. I mean, the parties who are holding the data, let's say the game developers, they are obviously interested in keeping it fair, right? Why would they change it, or aren't they? I don't know.
Did you ever play games pay to win?
I know.
I mean, most of the game developers are always offering people to buy things inside the games to be better players and to win easily.
Okay,
For example, tanks, right? You can buy things and nobody can beat you. You can do in game whatever you want and beat anybody just by putting more money inside the game.
Okay.
So one of the way. Yeah. Okay. If yeah.
I don't know if this is allowed as a moderator to ask questions, but maybe segueing slowly into the sort of UX block that we have after. Do you think the users, gamers especially, does it make sense for them to be aware that blockchain is being used underneath, or do you think that they just have to be aware that there is some sort of authority or technology allowing them to sort of trust that scores are correct? Have you had some thought about that?
Okay, thank you. Good question. So, it would be great if gamers are not aware of blockchain technology, but today any blockchain game will make you wait for any transaction, and you will know that you are playing blockchain game. So that's the worst part of it. And that is killing in the industry because you are not able to play while waiting that something happens in the background. If the technology gets to a point where it's used like just a service inside the games, and players are not aware of it, but they trust the system because of it. Like nowadays we all trust AI, whatever it says, we take for granted. And although it has a lot of flaws, but it would be great if this technology will become something that people can rely on. If they say that game is using blockchain for transactions, for high scores, for interaction between players inside the game, and that's became a standard for the games, that would be great for our industry and for, I mean, I'm also into blockchain, but into your industry. And then real usability will come to this whole thing, as I'm not sure if you're aware, but games are making more money 2 or 3 times than all the apps on all stores. So like 2010, the mobile apps started becoming generating more revenue than desktop apps, and like 3 or 4 years ago, gaming industry is making more revenue than anything else in the world. So if you really want some really good usability and to be accepted and into real world and start getting some real users, I really think that gaming is a really good path for that. That's it. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.